guys, it's Kasim. So I hope you're doing all right, by the way. So there's a question that I saw on Quora that I wanted to give you my thoughts on, talk a little bit about. I hope you maybe triggers something in you, gives you um, some thought for room for thought. It gets you to reflect. Maybe it creates a dialogue between us, makes the world a better place in some way. But anyways, I'm going to give my thoughts on it. The question is it wrong for me to leave my disabled husband because of how he treats me? But I get into talking about it, guys, if you want to help support me and get me to 1,000 subscribers by June, please can you subscribe to my channel? Obviously, only do it if you genuinely like what I talk about and you genuinely find it useful. Don't do it out of pity. But yes, I'd love it. You know me, I talk about dreaming big, I talk about having ambition, knowing what you want. So I know what I want, I know where I'm trying to go, and I'd love if you can help me get there. Anyways, let's get to the question, which is it wrong for me to leave my disabled husband because of the way he treats me? The absolute answer that I have outright is no, it's not. Okay, and the reason why I say this is because there is a reason when you get on the plane why they say that you need to put your mask on first before saving anybody else. It's because if you have a cup and you have nothing in the cup, then it means that you have nothing to give other people. And what it eventually leads down to is that you will get to the point where you give and give and give and give and allow people to break your standards, break your boundaries, break your expectation, invade your privacy to such a degree that you wither and there will be nothing left of you. And then you get to a place where you then get into resentment. From resentment, then you become revengeful. And you know where revenge goes? Now you're on the path to what I call the dark side of life, right? Because now you want to get even. I remember I watched a movie. I cannot remember the name of the movie, but the movie was about a woman who was angry with her husband, and she got to the point where she allowed him to cheat. She took him back. After he cheated, she took him back again. And she got to the point where she became so resentful. He then had an accident. And when he had the accident, she basically took him in and took him back. But then she tortured the man because he couldn't move. Right? So for example, she went, I think it was like 2 or 3 days with where she put food in front of him, sat him in a chair, and she ate in front of him, and she wouldn't feed him. Right? And that is a level that people are prepared to go to when they are in that space of getting revenge, when they've been pushed that far. And part of that is because they didn't take care of their needs in the first place. So it is really, really important that if you're going to take care of other people, that if you want to do the best for other people, that you need to ensure that your cup is runneth over. That you have a cup and everything that is within the cup is for you, but everything that is outside of the cup is for other people. Now, obviously, you can let people drink from your cup, take a few sips or whatever, but what you don't want to get down to is to the point where there is nothing left in the cup. And then you're constantly starting from the bottom. And here's the problem. If you are the one who's supporting your partner and they're disabled, I'm going to make the assumption, and it is an assumption, that you are the person who is in most of the lifting. You're doing most of the work. You're doing most of the supporting. And if that is true, then what's going to happen when you allow your partner to drink everything out of your cup? You're going to have absolutely nothing. So who is supposed to lift you up? Who is supposed to be the one to motivate you, right? And as I say, that's where people start getting depressed, they become anxious, they lose motivation, they lose purpose, they start becoming suicidal. As I say, they then become resentful, start going on the path of revenge. Like, it's a dark road to go down. But also, I think part of looking at this case is that you have to remember that all of us have limitations. We can't do everything for everyone. There is not only this, but I've met a lot of people who are disabled, and actually a lot of people who are disabled, particularly if they are people who are driven, who don't want to be pitied, they don't want people to feel sorry for them. They want to be self-reliant. They want to be people who they can rely on themselves. People who are independent. That's what I was looking for. People who are independent. And so, if look, let's go backwards a little bit. If you've spoken to your partner and you've genuinely had a conversation where you've given your partner an opportunity to rectify their behavior and they've identified how it impacts you, and sometimes that may mean getting somebody else into to help you bridge the gap. Because sometimes when there is a lack of communication, that's why you have mediation. That's why you have people who can support you. Sometimes people don't get the magnitude of what is actually happening until you get somebody else from the outside. But the person who is on the outside has to be somebody who both of you trust. So, for example, if you get your mum to come in and mediate for both of you, and your partner knows that you always go to your mum and your mum always backs you, then that's not a middle ground. You have to get somebody who genuinely is a middle ground, somebody who's neutral to come in and help you communicate what it is that you're wanting to communicate. Sometimes when we're trying to communicate something, particularly when we're upset, particularly when we're emotional, what we're trying to communicate comes off as aggressive. It doesn't translate to the other people. And so sometimes when we have somebody who's in the middle ground, it helps them communicate what we're trying to articulate in a better way. And actually, sometimes I've actually found this to be really useful when I've had one of my friends who's a female, okay? Because sometimes when you have a friend who's a female, it is much better for them to articulate to another female what the man actually means. Now, obviously, in saying that, you're going to have to find someone who genuinely not only understands men but women and understands how to communicate and articulate certain messages. Like, for example, I've learned that when you're trying to explain things to men, it is much better to use metaphors and examples related to things. So things like, I don't know, if you're saying, babes, I'm really upset, and when you do this, it causes me to feel like this. If you say that, most men don't understand. But if you say, for example, something on the lines of, when you do this, it's like me coming and I'm trying to now think of an example. It would be like me coming and pissing in your car, or it would be like it would be like a dog taking a shit in your car. Now, I know that sounds really ridiculous, but men understand that. Why? Because men obviously value their they value their cars. Most men do. Some men obviously don't give a shit about their car, but a lot of men a lot of men love their cars, right? So, but you understand that is something that men can understand, right? And so, or if you are speaking to a woman, you want to speak to her in terms of something like, it would be like your mother-in-law coming into the house and sleeping in your bed, right? Most women understand that. They get the magnitude of what you're saying. So I would also, obviously, firstly, before you even do anything, is really have a conversation with your partner. The other thing that I would do, which is really important, is try to understand the reasoning as to why your partner is behaving like this. And part of that is asking, why is my partner doing this? Because I'm presuming that if your partner is treating you like this, this either is happening now, there's a period of time when it started happening, either they got triggered by something, they were going through something, there's something that they're going through that you're not seeing, or it's always been like this. Now, if it's always been like this and you've come to the conclusion that you don't want it, that's a very different conversation now, because now you have to make a decision. But if they genuinely are going through a tough rut, or they're going through a lot of emotional stuff, or they're in pain, or they've had an operation recently, then that is a very different thing. Meaning you need to have context as to what you're talking about, is basically what I'm trying to allude to here. You can't be coming out here and telling me that he's treating you badly if you're saying that he had an operation recently and it was a major life-changing operation and is constantly in pain. Context matters. That's a very different thing. So one of the things is you have to put things into context. But all of this stuff goes back to communication. You need to talk to each other. I know it sounds ridiculous, but a lot of time A lot of us don't go to our partners with curiosity, we go to them with accusation. Have you gone to your partner and genuinely had a conversation with him? Babes, what's going on? This is how I'm feeling. What are you going through? This is how this is impacting me. Now, in saying this, he might say to you to fuck off. He might not give a shit about anything that you're saying. He will gaslight you. He will deflect everything that you're talking about. In which case, now you have a decision to make. Right? Whatever that decision may be for you. That may be to leave him. That may be to go to counseling. That may be whatever. I don't know. It's up to you to make that decision. But my point being is, all of this stuff, a lot of arguments in long-term relationship and a lot of conflict really can be resolved by having a chat. And by the way, whilst we're on having a chat, one of the other things that also is really important is if you're trying to, and I particularly talk about this because women are really guilty of this. If you are having a conversation with a man, you need to have the conversation. You need to know when to have the conversation and where to have the conversation. If clearly your partner is watching their favorite, I don't know, they love Formula One and it's a Grand Prix final, it is not a good idea to be talking to them about something that you're unhappy about. If you know that they love football and their team is playing on Saturday and it's 50 minutes into the game, it is not a good idea to be having a conversation with them about something really important. If you are having a conversation with your partner and you're both about to go to bed, it is not a good time to have the conversation. My recommendation to you is to have the conversation with your partner when you're in neutral ground, right? So meaning when you're both, not when they're sat in their favorite chair, but when you're both sat on the dinner table, right? The dinner table is neutral ground. That also means getting the cat out of the living room, the dog out of the living room, the children out of the living room, so that it's just both of you. That may mean getting your mum to come in and both of you go to a coffee shop, right? And remember, this all goes back to communication. This may go something on the lines of, babes, we need to talk, right? Most men, when you say something like that, we know, okay? Using our full name. If you say Kasim Kawesa, we need to talk because I'm worried and I have something important which I need to talk to you about, people pay attention, right? But if you keep blubbering and talking about the same thing you've been talking about for 3 weeks, people shut off, people don't listen. So that's just what I was reflecting on and what I would say to you. The issue is, I would need more information to really get into this. What is a disability? How long have you been together? Like, there's a lot of things here that really I can't really give on, so I'm only giving a generic answer. But I hope this has helped you. I hope this has added some value to the quality of your life. What do you think though? I'd love to hear what you think. Maybe you disagree with me and you think it's a lot of bullshit that I'm talking about. Yeah. Comment below. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And have a good day. See you later, guys.